strain multiplexed metasurface holograms on a stretchable substrate. We're going all sciency again. Aren't we clever? Have you ever wanted to stretch holograms like you wring your laundry? Well, now you can. We also discuss some of the keys to living a life of your choice and bringing personal success to you and your closest. Yep, we actually have useful information for once. Also, Joel forgets why he is talking about dementia, and we bake tiny Death Star-shaped cookies.
And guess what? This is the Dane and the Pain, the show where the hosts are holograms in 4 dimensions. Good evening, Joel.
Top of the evening to you. Or wait,
top of the morning to you, sir.
That's right. We're on the different. Anyway, top of the day. Whatever. I can't.
Top
think.
of something. Yeah, exactly.
We're next to something.
So this is a bit unusual because we actually just recorded one show with Latif, which is if you're listening to these in chronological order, that would have been the previous show you listened to. So we thought, hey, why not keep going? And here we are again. So I'm not going to ask how your week were, Joel, because that would be awesome. I mean, that'd be odd. But how was your Sunday?
Well, yeah. So, I don't generally pay attention to things like when I do grocery shopping or help with those sorts of things. And I noticed as I was walking down the area where they have all the fruit and vegetables, there was a sign on the right, and I walked over, and I had never seen the sign before, and to be frank, I couldn't even read it unless I got 3 feet away from it. And it said, for your information, the following commodities have been coated with USDA approved food wax to maintain freshness. And then it lists all of the food grade petroleum beeswax and lac resin based wax covered fruits. And there's a list of 35 odd fruits. But then right below that, it said food grade animal based wax, none. So I don't eat food with food grade animal based wax.
I think that's a very, very healthy choice.
Oh, Jesus, but there's no... I mean, first of all, the fact that I even saw the sign and read it is sort of, just incredible because it's probably been there for years. But who else is going to read that? And if you really cared about that, I don't know. Anyways, so that's...
This is so American. It's funny.
Yeah, I was like, what the... Interesting.
They might as well sort of put on there, these apples do not contain cyanide. And you go, oh, well, that's good.
And then to the right of it, there was a list of each produce type's nutritional facts. I should share the picture on, because unless you have 20/20 vision and you stand a foot away from it, there is no way that you can read it. It looks like one of those, terms of service agreements that you see with, any kind of account. There's just no practical way that anybody's ever going to use this stuff. So, yeah, that got me a little... I was kind of laughing and grumbling to Anne, and yeah, anyways, that's my Sunday.
Oh, very good. No animal wax for you on Sundays. Fantastic.
That's right.
I've been working a bit on the Dane and the Pain website because I wanted to... We talked about Cloudflare a couple of shows ago, and I was going to go a bit more in depth with that stuff, and I was going to have everything served over HTTPS, and in doing so, I broke everything. So I had a couple of minutes, probably half an hour, going, oh dear, what have I done? But it's all now good, and if you go to thedaneandthepain.com, you should see everything served securely. So now we are complying with the latest web standards. Hooray!
You're compliant.
I am. Well, the website is.
Well, and we also, I should say you added a Google, an Alphabet account today, right? Or was that yesterday as well? So we have
I did, yeah. So we now have all of the episodes. Well, that's not it. That's not true. Let me just rephrase that. all the episodes going forward, so from 29 onwards, will be published on YouTube as well, so that you can subscribe to our channel there as well. It has this very, very strange channel name right now because we need more subscribers to change the URL apparently. But please go and subscribe if you want to, and you'll see the episodes there as well, and you can comment and everything on YouTube as well.
And of course, we're also going to have it on our MySpace account, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I thought you'd seen that already.
I have
But that's
no
with me doing the instrumental version.
Yeah, I have no idea. There's so many different, there's so many different platforms out there that it sort of becomes
I know.
mind-numbing. But
Well, I'll explain to you and the listeners why I thought this was a good idea. Because with the podcast, we kind of we like what we do. We think we have great content to share sometimes, and sites such as Facebook does not allow audio content. You can't just put up an MP3 file and have it served and shown like a video, for example. And I thought, all right, well, if we create just with a static image and then the audio file, a video of it, we can share it on Facebook and people can listen to it through Facebook without having to do anything else. As well as we can now share it on YouTube, which will give us other avenues of cross-sharing with other podcasts, other content, and that sort of stuff. So that was sort of my thought behind it.
I cannot deny your logic.
Wow, you say I have logic. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that people want to listen a certain way, then we'll try to make sure that it's in a way they can listen. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
We don't want to, keep anyone out unnecessarily. So now let's move on because I want to talk about these. It's going to get a bit scientific, I think, but I think it's a really interesting article that popped up here from technologyreview.com, and I'll, of course, as always, post the link on the show notes. But talking about metamaterials and metasurfaces. And I'll just read out this paragraph that is in the article, this sort of introduction that says, one of the great advances in materials sciences in recent years have been the development of metamaterials and metasurfaces with optical properties that are not found in nature. These materials contain repeating elements that interact with electromagnetic waves to reflect, bend, and distort light. So in essence, this means that these researchers have created materials that are not real materials. That's why they're called metamaterials. So they have a physical shape underneath, but the material itself is kind of a conglomerate of other things that give this. It gives an idea that there is a material that exists when in fact it is a combination of many other things. And that's why they call it metamaterial and metasurface. And what they can do is they can have something like negative refraction of light. They can have super resolution lenses. Even this article says invisibility cloaks. Probably not quite invisibility, but you get the idea. And what they can do with this that kind of grabbed my attention was that they can now stretch these displays. So they can actually stretch this material, and they can have holograms that they print on these surfaces, and it changes. The hologram changes as the material is stretched. And I thought, that is so unusual. Like, that is something that I just had never even thought of. Sure, holograms, we've all, played with those since the 80s type things. I have some that hang on the wall. You walk around, it looks like they're coming out of the painting. And, in modern times, it's something like HoloLens with 3D digital holograms. But actual printing holograms and then stretching them, I don't know. Have you ever seen or heard anything like that?
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at an octopus, or some types of lizards that have the ability to manipulate their own, their skin color, texture, design to blend in with their surroundings, so that it, not the exact technology. Obviously, a lizard isn't sitting there thinking about building a meta material. But that sort of the notion, the idea is sort of out there in nature. I thought it was really interesting as how they were actually putting it together, much like using a contact lens as a form, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's I, I was trying to figure out in my head if this was something where it would be something that was worn or applied to something else, or if this was something that was used to potentially project something that would be as if it was part of your, like say a contact lens or something else, glasses that could then project three-dimensional objects off a wearable or a phone, say. And I don't have, maybe my understanding is not correct. Maybe it is just as something that can be applied to another object for a single purpose. And I don't remember, and I think you did a better job reading. Was it something that could be programmed, or is this is sort of for a set purpose, and that was it?
Well, in this case, what these researchers have come up with is you print it on there. So it says it's really quite simple, and I read it and I'm not sure it's so simple, but it's a layer of plastic and it has some nanorods that are covered in gold. And when the distance between these nanorods determines how the light refracts, and that's how the hologram is shown. So you can print on this somehow. I'm not sure. It doesn't say how the printing is done. But then you print one image, and then you can stretch this material, and then at a certain stretch, it changes the image to a completely different image. So by stretching the material, it moves between these two images. And I don't know. I just see all sorts of I don't know,
I'd love
different
it
kind of
if they
applications
make
for it.
it,
I can
yeah,
imagine.
if they made it into a set of running gear that would make me appear to be running fast. I would love that.
That'll never happen.
That was
No one
that
would
was a
buy that.
horrible joke, by the way, folks. And I'm trying to replace Lars's segment at the end, but I'm not having any luck. It
It's not working.
Yeah. Well, so so to my, I was thinking, well, gosh, if this is a sort of a that thin of material, and it's something that you can set a certain way, you could. I guess my thing is this is something that a human eye would be fooled by, but it wouldn't
Hmm.
be something that you could program to change in real time. So it would only be
Yeah,
for
but
that set
think of it this
purpose.
way. Like they have one of the examples they have here. Say you have an ebook, right? So this is a book that is printed on this material, and say you could program it. So this is a display technology, and
Yep.
you can have a computer behind it, and it could show this display technology, use this display technology. If you don't have a book, as you stretch the material, the letters go bigger, for example. So that if, depending on how big you needed it to read, if you're, short-sighted, weak-sighted, whatever it might be, you could just stretch it and it would be bigger. Things like that would really have an impact on how people use it.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because you could say in signage and things like that, you could have sort of this customizable, changeable, fungible design or signs, or
Mm-hmm.
apparel, or really whatever, I guess,
Yeah.
assuming that it's a resilient material. Um, but that seems really cool. I just think of, I'm sorry, the little kid in me thinks, oh, the invisibility cloak in Harry Potter or something like that. Um, which it's not
Yeah,
really.
but you probably could because I don't know. We have seen attempts at invisibility before that just kind of have cameras on one side and projects on the other side what the cameras see, so that it appears that you are just blending in. I don't know if it was similar technology or strategy that they would use.
It doesn't take much to, it's interesting, when you think about how we take in information, you can look at a set of letters, and as long as they make up, generally speaking, what the word should be, someone is able to read it. And in the same way that we can be fooled in a good way, right? We can accommodate and use language like that. We are also, can be tricked fairly simply with, simple, the depth of field, tricks when, which object is larger. And so I think playing against that, it seems like it's kind of a cool thing, but I'm just trying to figure out what other uses it might have.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early days, and it's kind of like any brand new technology. You're trying to struggle your brain with how it can actually apply this new technology.
I wonder if you could wear it like a
But
toupee. Like it would appear that I have hair, right?
I'm sure you could.
Sorry.
You get gold nano hair.
Yeah, that's right. I was like shimmering gold nano hair.
So pretty, Joe. So pretty. Pretty.
That's a good no. That's actually
Uh,
I read that and I told you I read that a few times and I still for whatever reason I have a hard time understanding completely that process. Um, we talked about graphene a few years ago uh,
mhm.
and it seems kind of like along down that path to me. Um, further out there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think graphene is still a very viable product, though.
Yeah.
They've actually started producing graphene elements now that are used, still in research purposes, but much larger sheets and everything. So it's getting there.
We should
It's
have
still
a
very
well.
expensive,
Maybe
but
we should have a graphene revisited show sometime and go
yeah,
back and
that'd
see
be a
what
good idea.
Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Mm. Yeah, cool. Um. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. I think yeah, this is cool. This holographic stuff. It's kind of came on my radar because of Hololens, but
So
let's
just
just leave it.
yeah. So just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, that was research out of Cornell University, but part of I think part of what lost me was this word. It's polydimethylsiloxane substrate. Can you say that? Stretchable
Huh?
polydimethylsiloxane substrate. You know, I think I probably after about 15 letters, I lose it anymore. So it
I'm not even gonna try.
well, but it also actually no. There's a little bit more here in this. This has a little more detail. But flat surfaces, dynamically reconfigurable optical communication and display. So yeah, optical
Yeah,
that's
but
optical
no, it's
communication is if I flip you off, that tells you what. I always love it when they use big words when simple words can suffice. But we can
but
move
simple
on,
words
Lars.
can't
Sorry.
suffice.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, isn't it? We need to have big words, because otherwise, how would we appear to be intelligent?
Well, and this is actually another good example where when you read the news article, then click on the link and get as far back to the source as you can. And this is, we'll post the link, or Lars will post the link, and people go look at it and read it. It's pretty interesting. By the way, I think
Uh,
two of the three people that wrote this paper, they are people not, they're immigrants to the U.S. Sorry, I had to do my little dig there.
should get rid of them.
Yeah.
Um.
Yes.
So, okay. Well,
God
speaking of
forbid.
immigrants, I'm going to talk about how to be successful. Um, and it's not so much about how to be successful, if I'm honest. Yeah, this is just the title of this article. It's 13 things you should give up if you want to be successful. And to be fair, this is a lot of these things that are in this is stuff that I talk about in my Force Awakens talk that has been so well received. So this is not all just a lot of these articles people just write and then everybody goes, oh yeah, totally do that. That makes perfect sense, and then nothing ever happens, right? But I will say that if you do embody some of these things and take this advice on board and actually make it part of your routine and your habit, they do tend to make a difference. But
The first thing
that
on
is the hard part.
yeah,
Is
the first thing on that was right. Never click on an article that starts with a number.
no, that's right, and it's as sad as it is. This has had 38,000 likes, right? So
Yeah,
on Medium.
it's
So
a good
it
one.
is a popular thing.
It,
Yeah,
it
it is. It is a bit clickbait.
it works.
Because who doesn't want to be successful?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not really successful. It's more about life quality,
Yeah.
more than anything. But there's a really good quote here, and it says anonymous, and I don't know who said it. It probably is. I'm not sure. But It says, on your last day on Earth. So this is somebody once told me the definition of hell. On your last day on Earth, the person you become will meet the person you could have become. And I thought, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Because we don't know where we're going to end up. We don't know the path, the journey we have. All it is that life is a bunch of experiences and we sort of chain them together, right? And hopefully we go from strength to strength. Not always, but in as an overall trajectory. But I think this is an important thing to talk about because so many people just go, I want to be successful, but this guy over there, he's just so lucky. And as my good friend Troy Hunt says, well, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's very true. It's very little of these things that people perceive as successful comes just out of the blue. It is hard work that takes years. So let me just rattle on a few of these pieces of advice here. Give up on the unhealthy lifestyle. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live, which is a quote by Jim Rohn. And it basically has two things: healthy diet, physical activity. And I must admit, I kind of agree with it, even though the physical activity is a thing that I don't do much of.
No comment.
I don't know. No, we live on a large property, so I walk around a lot, but I don't go running like you do. We even have a gym here at the place, and I don't really use it. There's a treadmill and whatnot.
I thought
agree.
Jim cleans the pool, doesn't he?
No, that's Raul.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's one of no. So give up on the unhealthy lifestyle. I would reword that and say, hey, be mindful of what you eat and how you live your life in a physical way. And yeah. Anyway, many other people have said that's the same thing. It's important to get out and move. It clears your mind. Your subconscious works so much better when you're doing some physical activity, whatever it might be, whatever your thing is. So, I'm not going to go through all 13, but we'll link the article so you can go through them yourself. Give up on playing small. I think that's interesting. If you never try and make great opportunities or allow your dreams to become realities, you'll never unleash your true potential, which sounds pretty wanky, but it's true. If you don't kind of dream big and aim high, well, you're going to get exactly what you asked for, right? So there is this sort of... And I go through this in my talk as well. Fiona, my other half, has this concept, what she's called the birds. And the birds are the people that always come and say, hey, no, why would you do that? That's not going to work. No, that's too expensive. You're not good enough for that. No one will say yes to that. All those things, and they peck at you all the time, and they go peck, 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 and the birds just keep pecking away at you, and eventually they get their way, and you go, it's probably not going to work. So if you keep aiming high and aiming big and getting rid, actually one of the points in this is also, get rid of baggage. I think that's important because how else would we have any sort of progress, right? There are so many examples of things where people have just failed and failed and failed in order to succeed.
So Lars, one of the things that I always, and I have done my whole life, and this is, again, I'm not bragging because I've had my share of failure, but it never ceases to amaze me, from HR professionals to people who I work with who are executives to, all these really smart people. I always tell people who work for me, with me, around me, you always apply for jobs you're not qualified for. And it doesn't. I'm not saying you should apply for jobs that you don't know anything about, but you should always be applying above where you're at. You don't get what you don't ask for. And I just, for people that listen, every job I've had as an adult, I have not met all the qualifications for. Every one.
No one ever does.
And, well, but you know what I mean. I've never the laundry
I know
list.
what you mean.
So and so I think that is really sage advice because people um, you can't, yeah, you just can't accept what other people tell you that you should do. And I am a shining example of that because my path has not been typical at all. But anyways, go ahead with the list.
No, I think it's an important point you're making. I absolutely agree. And it's I know people that look at a job ad and they say there's 10 bullet points because they always have bullet points what you need to be able to do. And some people go, "Oh crap, I only know 8 of them." And then someone else goes, "Yes, I know 2 of them." You know, and there's a vast difference in attitude. And there probably is the guy that only knows 2 of them. He's actually going to get it, because most employers will look for passion and eagerness and loyalty and those sort of traits, because knowledge is something that can be acquired. Skills can be learned. So it's it's a good point. Always aim high. I like this one. Give up on your excuses. Just leave them. There's 2 words that really bother me. One is try, and the other one is can't. If you say, I'm going to try and do it, you've already given yourself an excuse. You already said, it's probably not going to work. And it's okay if it doesn't because I tried. So, just that's an excuse immediately. And then I put this on Twitter, and some people didn't like saying I can't. Because yes, you can. If you really want to, you can. It's a matter of priority. You can say I won't.
Yep.
And you can give your your opinion that way. And some people might take offense, but that's okay because you need to take care of you. So the excuses really bother me when people say, "Oh no, I can't do that." Well, you can. What you're saying is you won't do it because something else is more important, and that's okay. But tell me instead, right? So excuses are so poisonous.
Lars, you're gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Okay, I can live with that.
Well, actually, I always thought your favorite word was busy. I'm busy.
Yeah, busy too. Busy is in the same category as can't.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of busy because everybody's busy.
Yeah.
Everybody has enough stuff to fill out their day, right? It's not like if I wasn't recording the podcast here, I would just be doing something else. It's not like I don't have other stuff to do. It's just because I want to do the podcast. I like doing it. I think it has value. And believe it or not, I actually enjoy talking to you sometimes as well.
So that was number 6 or 5? I can't remember where you were
at. It was number 4 on the list, but I'm not going through all of them.
Oh,
okay. Give up the fixed mindset. That's kind of what you just went back to. Just think outside what you normally would do. Believe that you can do more, and I think that's fine with that. Give up your perfectionism. Absolutely. Just don't try and make everything perfect. Like when we first did this podcast, we had no clue what to do. Like, is that fair?
Well, I would say that this podcast for me anyways, is a pretty good representation because, the reality is you and I just happened into each other on Twitter one time. I don't know, I was giving you shit about something. And so the result of that has been incredibly enlightening for me. And I have a job and I have my own kids and foster kids. You have a business, you have kids, you're traveling, but we've both made time to do this. And I think it's like you just said, it's, I'm learning as I go. This is pretty much all new to me. It still is. So, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it is, and we're learning. We've had to cancel whole episodes, people, that just the audio just went completely down the sewer. But we just couldn't save it, so we've been through that. We've had a guest on the show that we promised we were going to get, and we ended up losing his audio.
Lars and I got in a virtual fight once. That was awesome. It was just we were throwing stuff around the room, yelling at each other. Our wives had to come pull ourselves away from the keyboards.
Oh, for those that don't know, and listening in, Joel and I have actually never met face to face. That's the fun
I
bit.
had no idea. I imagine Lars as a small hobbit-like creature with very hairy feet, who emerges from the Shire once or twice a year.
I'm not even humanoid. I'm just electrical wires.
Sorry. We should get back to the list, Lars. That was totally uncalled for.
Oh, we should.
But probably accurate.
Anyway, this number 8 is give up multitasking. I don't do well with this. I must admit, I try and do 18 things at the same time. It kind of, I call it focus on one thing. But this whole, and I know this from people that I know that are very successful in their field and what they do. They're very good at focusing on a thing and getting that thing done and then doing the next thing. Where I want to do all four things at the same time in the half the time. So no one's perfect, but we're working on it. Give up your need to control everything. That I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I've worked for bosses that their micromanagement boss, right, is a prime example. Someone that needs to control every single facet of what you do and what you want to know all about how you do it and when you do it. You can't, like, for example, let's use the podcast again as an example. Joel has no idea when the episode gets edited or how it goes up or what program I'm using. He just delivers audio to me, but he researches stuff on his end about articles, and I don't know when he does that or what he's going to come up with. So, we split the load and we just share the responsibility.
So kind of you, Lars.
That's true. Yeah, give up on saying yes to things that don't support your goals. We could have a whole talk about goals. I think we did actually before we did talk about goals.
I
smart
don't.
goals. So go back.
So I was gonna say,
listen to that episode.
This list doesn't. So as like a financial goal, take for instance. So when I was in my early 20s, and I won't be terribly specific, but I set a goal that I wanted to be able to save enough to stay at home with my family, or have my wife stay at home if we had children. I wanted to have a home. I wanted to have X amount by, the time I was 30, 40, 50 set aside. And saying those things at that time sounded pretty, internally, it didn't seem plausible. And at times, I made horrid mistakes. Probably one of the worst financial mistakes I ever made. Yep. And you'll get a kick out of this, Lars, because I lost a lot of money. But we were moving from Oregon to Nebraska, and I bought and sold stock, and I owned stock in the company I worked for, or had worked for at the time, called NovaCare. We moved to Nebraska. It was we took a couple weeks, went up to Montana, visited. So I get to Nebraska, and this is before the age of smartphones and the like, and get there and realize that the company had been investigated by the FBI, and they'd seized a whole bunch of documents from them. The price had been cut in 2/3, and it was a huge financial setback. And I made two mistakes. I invested in the company I worked for too heavily, and I wasn't paying attention. But the point is that you'll have setbacks in your life. These things will happen to you. But if you set the goals and you stick to it, you'll get to a point where it provides so much freedom that you might not have otherwise. So setting goals is important. And understanding that you will screw up is also really important. And there's lots of other examples I could give,
Yep.
But I'll just leave that there.
No, I think you're absolutely right. You are going to fail, and that's just part of life. But the important thing is not to fail the same
Well,
thing
I've done some
twice,
stupid things too, but anyways, go
on. 11, give up the toxic people. I'm a big proponent of this because there are people that you may have known for like 20, 30 years, depending on what your age is, and you consider them to be really good friends, and in fact they're not. They're holding you back. They could be the birds. They could be people that are just a bad influence on your decisions. And you got to get rid of them. You got to give up these toxic people. And there's a good quote here from Jim Rohn again saying, you're the average of the 5 people you'll spend the most time with. And this is so true. The people that you surround yourself with are the people that you're going to learn from and take cues from.
I got really lucky when Anne decided I was okay to be around, because having someone who's a focused, hardworking spouse who's smart and shares your values makes it a lot easier. Or any significant other that, or support team, if you will, is beneficial. It's pretty hard to tune out that negative noise, though. Especially if you're in a workplace where you have a lot of that sort of
Yeah,
negativity.
it is.
It's not easy. Sometimes the best choice is just to move along.
I agree. It's yeah. I'm not saying any of this advice is easy, because some of it comes with with cloak and daggers, and you just don't know sometimes what's happening and when it's happening. But if you at least are mindful of it, then you know what to look out for, I guess. And so yeah. Um, and then the last ones, I haven't gone through all of them, but there's one here. This is my favorite. Give up your dependency on social media and television, especially television, right? And it's just, I just don't watch television. I watch a movie. I've said this many times. I watch a movie because it ends and that's it. But television never ends. It just goes on and on and on. And you can lose so much time on it, right?
Television never remember that.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah. And then I've had people ask, well, how do you relax? How do you unwind? Then I say, well, you can always go for a walk, or you can play with a dog, or there's many other ways of doing it.
I don't feel as strongly about that only because I kind of view it in the continuum. There have been times in my life where, and we've had that before, where I've watched more or less TV. Right now, I don't really. I have to tell you, we talked once about binge watching, or people that download these shows, these old series of shows. Well, because I'm kind of a sci-fi geek, I got goaded into trying to watch or watching The Expanse, which is you can get on Xbox or any of those pay-per-view, or yeah, I guess in any of those you could get it. But yeah, there's two seasons. I didn't watch it all at once. I've generally been watching it when people are asleep in the house. But back to your point, I think those things that steal time from you, um, regardless. And I think the flip side of that, yeah, you mentioned I go running. Well, I also play basketball and we hike and do other things, but I'm always ready to. So in my car, there's always a set of workout gear and my running shoes. And if I have a break or time, then I'll go, even if it's for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So being prepared to take advantage of breaks in your time, I think is important, as important as it is, limiting, those time suckers like TV or internet.
Oh yeah, and it's, I agree with, social media can be a real time sucker. It absolutely can. It just sucks time away, and I'm trying to limit my use of especially Facebook. I just don't read through that much of Facebook. Twitter is a little more hard
Yeah.
because I actually do converse with people, and I've got leads and jobs from Twitter as well. So and it's part of the personal branding journey that I'm on. So it's a little bit harder. But I agree, social media can be just as detrimental to your time usage as well.
I think it kind of depends too. So it's funny. Twitter is kind of like the bar. Everybody goes in and everybody has their own idea of what it is. But I've actually spent very little time on Twitter because it only takes a few seconds. I mean, and that's the part that gets me. Facebook, it can be much worse, but I generally stay out of there. I'm using LinkedIn more and more, and
Oh yeah,
mainly
yeah.
because, well, yeah, because professionally, it's just more focused on information, and you can also regionalize it a little bit more simply because it is based more on sort of real social networks. And the example would be, you know, since I've joined in the state of Alaska, over the past few months, I've connected with about 100 something people, and they all work in various positions within the healthcare system in the state of Alaska, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives me insight that I wouldn't normally have, and it allows me to share information that I probably wouldn't have been able to do in the past. So although I don't know if people consider that social media and not LinkedIn, I guess I kind of do, but that's a fair point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, LinkedIn definitely is social media, but it has more of a professional slant to it, I guess. Now, I think we should move on. I know we have one more thing you wanted to talk about that you're particularly passionate about.
What was that? Was that the was oh
That is so good that you say, what was that? Because it
well
was
no
dementia and
my
Alzheimer's.
my brain is I've got like a gazillion things. The one that oh you mean the subduction zone or whatever? Or is that the one the earthquake in Seattle that's blow up Microsoft? Or the what? No,
No, not that one.
oh yeah. Yeah, this ironically enough dementia. Well, no, so I started get a good laugh out of that. So I started thinking of
Oh, yeah.
we talk a lot about what's going to happen in the future and guesstimating and reading these articles, these sort of high-minded things. And what caught my eye is I saw this article on dementia, and my stepfather passed away from Alzheimer's, and I've worked in that industry, if you will, in the past, taking care of people with dementia. Anyway, so I read through this article, and it was interesting because in the States there was this huge concern because there was going to be this wave of retirees coming who were going to have dementia. They were going to be so hard to take care of, and it was going to cost a ton of money. And then as they studied the disease over the past 10 to I think the study was 12 years, but they discovered that the incident of Alzheimer's is actually now slowing and declining. And the reason I bring that up is not because of, thank you for that tweet, Lars, is not necessarily just that, and there's interesting reasons why that may or may not be happening, but is because how predicting the future can be so fraught with danger, whether you're developing a technology or anything, because here you have scientists who make these assumptions based on what's happening 20 years ago with Alzheimer's, and those assumptions were based on the population and the incidence rate and the demographics of the people affected, and then it doesn't happen. And so I think when you apply that to, say, developing AI or something like that, I think it's important to look at these other events, because even when our best and brightest predict what they think is going to happen, they're not always right, and sometimes they're completely wrong. In Alzheimer's case, they're presupposing that it has to do with the generation coming up now is more educated, that there may be more protective factors in place in the brain and connections within the brain that are allowing them to have a lower rate of Alzheimer's. But my big thing was just sort of making the comparison between the predictive ability based on what you know right now. Don't necessarily listen to the experts, because quite often they're wrong. So in short, ladies and gentlemen, don't always trust the scientists. I'll channel my best Donald
Very
Trump.
true. Well, that's the beauty of science, isn't it? That it's always at best a guess. Like, there's no such thing as 100% proof in science. So it's there's always an anomaly or something that's slightly out of the spectrum, edge cases. So that makes sense. I think it's that time of the show. I'm actually pretty sure it is. Are you ready?
I don't think so.
It's the joke of the week, so come along with me. I cannot promise it will be funny, but it's the joke of the week.
So this is a bit longer, but Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are on a camping trip. In the middle of the night, Holmes nudges Watson awake and says, "Watson, look up at the sky and tell me what you see." "I see millions of stars, my dear Holmes. What do you infer from these stars?" "Well, a number of things," he says, lighting his pipe. "Astronomically, I observe that there are millions of galaxies and billions of stars and planets. Astrologically, I observe that Saturn is in Leo. Horologically, I deduce that the time is approximately 3:15. Meteorologically, I expect that the weather will be fine and clear, and theologically, I see that God is all-powerful and man, his creation, small and insignificant. What about you, Holmes? Watson, you fool! Someone's stolen our tent! See, it was funny. I thought it was very good. So,
Well, that's wisdom. Wisdom from Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's all we do. All we have is wisdom out the yin yang. But I think that's a show, Mr. Jackson, and I think that we will maybe have a guest on the show next time, or at least in the next couple of shows, I would say. So I'm looking forward to that. And until then, make sure that you keep your running shoes close.
And you keep your battery jumper cables close by.
Will do. All right. See you, mate.
Take care. Bye.
This has been another episode of The Dane and the Pain with Joel and Lars. We look forward to having you back next time. Until then, toodaloo.